On the 19th of April 1882, the English naturalist and geologist Charles Darwin died at the age of 73 years. 23 years earlier, Darwin had published his theory of evolution, The Origins of Species. A little over a year after his death, on October of 1883, deep within the bowels of the earth, miners at Ellison's West Yorkshire firebrick works and colliery here in Eccleshill made the discovery of such importance as to put into action an expedition by the Leeds Philosophical Society. An article of the time which appeared in the Leeds Mercury newspaper reports that the expedition of the Society's members travelled by train with all due haste. But instead of getting off at Eccleshill station, they continued on to Idle. Once in Idle, they arranged transport to take them back along the line to Ellison's colliery. The mine's owner, Francis Beaumont Ellison, was away on business at the time, and so it was left to the pit's manager, Andrew Oldroyd, to present the expeditionary group with a 3-foot 8-inch fossilised fish to take back to Leeds with them. Well, that's the bare bones to this story, but few people would know where Ellison's firebrick works and colliery was here in Eccleshill, and it may come as a surprise to young Eccleshillians that the village even had its own railway station, and whilst we may know the name of this unique fossilised fish, Megalithics hiberti, you'd be hard pressed to find a picture of it. So let's start adding a little bit of meat to the bones of this story. We'll begin by looking at 2 aerial photographs which are freely available on the internet. Both these photographs had been taken sometime after the Second World War, but before 1952. Now we know this because by 1952, the construction of the Thorpe Edge housing estate had already begun. Our first aerial photo is looking eastwards. Here we can still identify some familiar landmarks. Starting at the top, partially obscured by the blurring of the aeroplane's wing strut, is Eccleshill Village, and here is the bank running down towards Harrogate Road at the bottom. Moving below a little, we have Bradford Road, which takes us down to the village of Idle. We can also see a section of the ancient boundary separating Eccleshill and Idle, which followed the natural watercourse known as Hague Beck. This ran from Blake Hill to the River Aire at Apley Bridge. No longer remaining, here we can see the old Great Northern Railway branch line, which once ran from Lowmoor in the south of Bradford to Shipley. In the distance is the Eccleshill station and goods yard, and below, just out of view, was Idle's train station. Just to clarify, this expanse of greenfield land was developed between 1952 and 1956 and became known as the Thorpe Edge housing estate. But the area we're most interested in is down here, Ellison's West Yorkshire firebrick works, and just above it is the colliery pithead. Let's now take a look at aerial photograph 2, taken in 1951 by the RAF. In this, we're looking north. In the top part of the photo is the village of Idle, and here again we can see a section of the Hague-Beck boundary line separating Eccleshill and Idle. Here we have the Great Northern Railway branch line, below which is Ellison's West Yorkshire firebrick works, and to the right is where the coal pit once stood. In fact, all that is left at this time is the derelict remains of the pit manager's house. We know the fossil Megalithics hiberti was taken by the Leeds Philosophical Society to Leeds in 1883, where, after being examined, studied and classified as a unique example, was then carefully crated up and has since been kept in storage, only ever viewed by scholars, academics and members of the public by appointment only. Having made an appointment, I travelled over to the Discovery Centre in Leeds, and having obtained prior permission to both video and photograph the specimen, I was about to meet Eccleshill's oldest resident. So here I am at the museum looking at Eccleshill's oldest resident, a megalithes. And with a bit of Photoshop manipulation, these are the pieces of this 240 million year old fish recombined. Ellison's firebrick works and colliery pit have long since passed quietly into history. Today, very little evidence still exists, and the site looks very different, but for the budding historian or archaeologist, there remains just enough to capture the imagination.